No, it absolutely is it's a cognitive dissonance. I couldn't possibly be the reason that you're here.
If you're like, oh, do you have Buffalo Trace? Like, oh, we don't have Buffalo Trace, but we have Basil Hayden, and it comes from the same distillery. It's slightly more expensive, but it's a higher tier, and it's, made with a little more care than Buffalo Trace, but by the same people. They're like,
Nice.
wow.
Oh, Jackson, for the record, I tell people you used to work for Deep Eddy, and that's why I recommend the vodka. So you know what I love to do? I love to
when
lie.
People will do the thing. I thought maybe if we had 2 cold opens at the same time, it might be better.
Okay. Do you want to finish yours before I continue?
No, I know. I just thought like if we had like 2 at the same time, it might be like better than just 1.
Okay.
Now go ahead.
So I really like.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of like.
Fuck you. You piece of shit.
No, go ahead.
Do I get to go ahead now?
Oh, now
Noah's like, he wouldn't do it. Noah's like, he wouldn't do it 3 times.
So
Noah also in Noah's head, absolutely he would do it 3 times.
I literally can't believe you were the one to do it the 3rd time.
Yeah, Dan did it with that. Sometimes I don't even have to do my own job.
I got your back, fam.
Man, I just wanted to tell you about the only new thing that's happened in my life over the last month. And you're so busy talking over me that I don't even know if I want to share these funny stories anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, luckily I can talk about one of the only new things that's happened in my life in this last month.
Oh, cool. What happened to you?
And that's that I started working at a state-run liquor store.
Oh, that's really neat. You want to tell us about that?
I want to hear your thing.
So,
what's your thing?
I also
go ahead,
started
your
working
cool
at a
original
state-run
thing?
liquor store.
Wow, I can't believe Noah just came in here and tried to steal your thing, Jackson. That's pretty fucked up.
Let's talk about lying to people.
Let's talk about lying
Let's
to
talk
people.
about
Dan, how much do you know about wine?
More than 0, less than like a person who drinks wine regularly. How's that?
So is the scale 0 to a person who drinks wine regularly?
Yeah.
There's no like other integers, it's just 0?
It's 0 and then drinks
you're like-
lots of wine. I'm like a 0.5.
Okay.
A 0.5 out of probably 3
Wow.
because drinks wine regularly. They probably still don't know anything about wine, if we're being honest.
It's valid.
Oh, absolutely.
And
yeah.
that's something I have learned over these past few weeks. Let me tell you about learning that different wines exist during me selling people on them.
Absolutely.
That's the best experience of your life.
Who's going to talk about a Chablis?
A Chablis?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a Chablis.
Oh, you're gonna.
I'm sure I am.
Chablis. You're gonna see him.
Oh, is that how
yes,
it's
you are.
pronounced?
I don't know. But I lie to people about it.
There you go. I lie to people about knowing what a good dry wine is. And I do that very regularly. And the way I do that is I find, you might have seen my tweet about this, I find the nicest looking $10 bottle of wine that I know happens to be dry and saying, I like this one a lot personally. I think it's a pretty good bang for your buck. And then I say, but if you're looking for an all-time crowd pleaser, you can't go wrong with Barefoot. And that's my entire sales pitch.
And look, it is the #1. It has the most awards won out of any American in all American wine competitions.
But also, if you want, you can also just do Barefoot.
Yeah, well, no, Barefoot has the most medals.
Oh, does it actually?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were
but-
talking about
Whole
whatever
claim to
wine he was talking about. No, Barefoot actually is
I'm
good.
gonna be honest. I'm not meaning to say that it's actually like amazing. I don't think it's bad by any means.
No,
It's,
but
it's
Barefoot's
like
fine.
$5 and it's pretty good.
Yeah, Barefoot's real good for. Barefoot is actually good bang for your buck.
Genuinely good bang for your buck.
Yeah.
But I also think that they have the most medals because I'm gonna bet they enter way more fucking competitions than
That's
anybody else.
Very fair.
If you have the money that Barefoot does, you can enter every single competition. It doesn't matter if you place 6th in 80% of them because if you're entering 10,000, you're gonna win a couple.
That's
It's
fair.
true. And let's be real here. When you have the money of being the wine that people like me just say, yeah, man, this is a great wine. When you got enough people like me working and pushing that wine on people, you're never gonna fall off the mountain.
It's just genuinely true that Barefoot Pink Moscato is a certified hood classic. It just is.
I just see that absolutely fly off the shelves, and I'm like, oh
while
my
we're
gosh.
talking about Barefoot wine, can we have a quick moment can I implant your brain with a thought that I've had that I can never unthink whenever I'm working at the liquor store?
Yeah, please.
You think anyone's ever jerked off to the Barefoot wine logo?
Yes.
I hate that thought.
Yeah. And the answer is probably yeah.
Yeah, the answer is definitely yeah.
Or
100%.
if not to that, it may have brought them to where they're like, oh boy, I need to step aside for a minute.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There's literally not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah, there's definitely somebody out there who's been like weirdly horny about the Barefoot Wine logo.
Now the question is, the bigger question I feel like in this is it a constant horniness, or is it this is a one-time thing and they're like, and now they can't look at Barefoot Wine the same way?
I think there's probably some examples of both out there, because I think it's not a one-off situation. But this is something I've given much thought to. Because, it really does fly off the shelves more than any other wine. So I find myself stocking it like 5 times at least a day.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you start to think, I wonder if anyone's jerking off to the Barefoot Wine logo.
Oh, every time I think that, yeah.
I do think that pretty often.
No, can I hit you with another thing about so I don't know, are you working there as like permanent part-time, or are you seasonal?
I am going to be permanent part-time.
Okay, I am but a seasonal lad, so I'm just there for a couple weeks. Honestly, one of the main reasons is like for next semester, my total bill after everything is like $400.
That's rad.
Congrats. Like, rather than they take that out of my like, well, I mean, there's loans on it. It's not all.
Well, still, it's still not bad. That's still not.
There's
bad.
loans on there. I mean, a lot of it's grant actually, which I can't complain about. But so I gotta pay like $400 out of pocket, and I'm like, rather than like take it out of my savings or like a little investment portfolio, I'm just gonna work for a couple weeks, pay off that, and then use the rest of it for like gas money to go visit Mari.
There you go.
Nice.
That's kind of the plan. So I'm like, yeah, that pays for a couple trips, and since my internship's not gonna be paid,
Unpaid internship. I'm not gonna talk about unpaid internships on the podcast. I'm just gonna get angry.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to not get angry. It's kind of like the worst thing ever. But unfortunately, you know what they say: any port in a storm. And sometimes the port won't pay you for your wares. It'll just take them and say, "Well, your ship's lighter now." I guess so.
You say, "Well, I sure do hope that my ship being lighter helps me to survive this storm better."
There you go. I mean, they threw my man Jonah overboard for that one.
True. That's exactly what they did.
The storm stopped.
That was the reason they threw Jonah over, because they were like, if we get rid of this one person, the boat will be lighter.
When first they threw off all the cargo. To be fair, they were kind of homies for like trying to not immediately kill the guy.
True.
That like God was like, you gotta kill him.
It's my bad.
Yeah, God was like, you gotta throw him off, and they were like, oh shit, we don't really want. Like he seems nice. Like we don't want to kill him. But then eventually he was like, guys, you gotta kill me, and they were like, really?
Jerry, you gotta kill me, Jerry,
George, you gotta kill him. George, you gotta throw him overboard.
Yeah, exactly. Have I told y'all Nina's getting ready to divorce me because I've started watching Seinfeld, by the way?
I love the idea of Seinfeld does Bible stories.
Seinfeld does Bible stories is such a good idea.
The idea of George... I can already just see George Costanza sitting like a little bit of like shittily on a throne as Pharaoh, and Jerry's like, Pharaoh, you gotta let my people go. This is the best bit.
This is the worst bits.
Pharaoh.
Curse as hell. So fucking cursed. I'm so here for it.
Oh my god, I love it.
Dan,
I'm so fucking here for it. No, I'm here for it,
dude. And George hardened his heart. Because George hardened his heart, but then eventually God hardened George's heart. Man.
Have a heart attack from deli food? What do you mean?
That's God hardening his heart.
Damn.
That's what the Bible meant.
You got me there.
Ooh. Oh my god, that's a great idea, though.
Is that also going to be on our TV network?
It is now.
I think if we could get the funds to do Seinfeld does Bible stories, holy shit, hilarious. I don't know that would fly with like the FCC or with Jerry.
What are the rules on like why wouldn't the FCC let that fly?
Because there's just like a lot of like lobbying groups who would be like, you can't let them make a mockery of Christianity as the entire show, and without like the kind of backing of some like kind of organization like being, like Comedy Central or something, you can't really get away with it because like even though South Park's got some anti-religious stuff in there and some like comedy about religion, the whole joke isn't the religion.
Yeah.
Whereas like this would be like, yep, that's the whole joke, and also we're an unestablished network.
Yeah, you got me there. There's probably a low chance that we'd be able to get away with it, but
man,
for those 2 weeks,
yeah,
the 2 weeks before we got both literally and figuratively canceled.
if we got Jerry Seinfeld on board, again, not gonna fucking happen. Then all of a sudden the things start to turn around because if you actually got Seinfeld for the show, I think they'd let it run.
Oh, I mean, Seinfeld's like the coolest guy ever. Everyone loves Seinfeld.
I mean, I don't want to go there.
That's how.
But
that was the show. Actually, everybody loves Seinfeld.
But like, yeah, I feel like that. Like, if he was on board with the show and wanted to run it, it would run.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any reason to
he made B movie everywhere. Like he put like B movies advertising was off the chain. Doesn't mean it succeeded, but it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell me B movie would have happened if anyone other than Jerry Seinfeld was like doing everything to make it happen.
You know, I would agree with you, but there have been a lot of real dumb movies that have gotten made out of lesser premises.
That's true, but like B movie was everywhere, and it was not by like a no-name studio.
You know what B movie was? B movie was like a 70s 80s. Like, you remember when you got like those like, oh, this is Hulk Hogan's movie, and it's like very clearly the only thing that mattered about the movie was that Hulk Hogan was in it. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Exact same energy, but for like the early 2000s.
Yeah, no, you are very correct in that, and I don't know how to feel about that.
And like
the fact that it's animated kind of alienates it from that by like one layer, but in a perfect way.
But in a very cursed way, in a way that means that some large number of people had to sign off on it, right? When you're dealing with like the Hulk Hogan whatever Hulk Hogan movie, that's like there were a lot of people that signed off on it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's family comedies. You can say that too.
Perfect. That works. That works much better. Arnold Schwarzenegger's family comedies. When you're working with any of those, you got like, there were a lot of people that had to sign off on it, but at a certain point, like the ball's rolling too fast, too quickly, and everyone else kind of gets caught up in it. For an animated movie, there's so many layers of people that have to be involved with every fucking step of that.
And have to put their everything into those
Exactly.
Steps. Exactly. Like, because I feel like for a lot of those movies, like you can have like a half-assed director for the Hulk Hogan family movie, and they do
100%.
But the thing is, like, animation directors, it's so vastly different than like, hey, okay, Hulk, walk around. They're like, we've got to painstakingly animate Jerry Seinfeld be having a romantic relationship with this woman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're gonna have to take weeks of our lives to make this happen and look good.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to devote everything in ourselves to this.
Yeah, this is just something we all have to accept.
Like, this is like 2 years of our lives that we are devoting to this.
Do you ever think about the fact that there was a rap song recorded by Jerry for the movie?
I don't think about it often, but it's been brought to my attention before.
I think about it every now and then, and I just don't like it. It's not a good memory to like have pop up. It's not an inherently like bad one, right? Like,
weren't we talking? What? How do we get to this point?
I don't know.
Wait,
we stopped talking about
I'm trying to remember what
we
you're talking about. What do you
I feel like we gotta get back to the liquor store. You know, I feel like the thing about the liquor store is when it comes down to like lying to people about things, I try not to. You know, I kind of get the general idea of wine, you know, dry and sweet. Like, I know, you know, you can tell the difference based on alcohol percentages. But I feel like the liquor section is really where I'm like the most comfortable.
Oh, Jackson, for the record, I tell people you used to work for Deep Eddy, and that's why I recommend the vodka, just so that you know.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's amazing.
I'm like, yeah,
I
a friend of mine used to work there, and, you know, he turned me on to it, and honestly, bang for your buck, it's as good as Tito's. That's what I say every time.
I mean, I'll die on that hill. Like, absolutely, I will agree with that, because, like, I genuinely like the Deep Eddy vodka. I think it's really cool. I even got, like, a tin sign in my room. And that's the only distillery I've ever been to.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, there we go.
That's what like. We don't sell like the regular. We only have the flavor at the store I work at. So like, it's kind of harder to make that. Yeah, which is annoying. So it's kind of harder to make it happen. So like, but people, if they're looking for like flavored vodka, I'm like, yeah, you gotta get this Deep Eddy stuff. It's the best you can get. I'm like, I've been there before. The distillery. I just remember because they do like. I went with a friend of mine who kind of sucks as a person. But yeah, he kind of went off the deep end after this point. I don't know if it was because of the Deep Eddy Distillery tour. I don't think so. I think it was based more on like rapidly changing political ideologies that kind of made him into a piece of shit. Anyway,
wouldn't it be really funny if the Deep Eddy like distillery was just like his breaking point? He's like, you know what? Nah, this is it. I'm done.
No, because like he and I had like a really good day that day. But then like, you know, like a year later, like I checked his Facebook page. I'm like, oh my God, what happened, man? What happened? Anyway, we don't talk anymore, but fond memories.
Fond memories.
We went to the distillery, and like, you know how you go to like a brewery and they're like, yeah, well, here's a flight. It's like 4-ounce glasses of beer.
Yeah.
At the distillery, they're like, yeah, you want to do like a vodka flight? And we were like, yeah. It's just like they just hand you 6 different shots of vodka.
And you're sitting here like these all taste
it's not
essentially
like,
the same.
And then,
I
well,
have
no,
a
'cause they were
distillery
fla- they
story
were
once we're
flavored.
done. Once we're.
Yeah,
I don't
I
want to
thought
let
it was
it
gonna be
slide off
like
topic.
I thought it was gonna be like, like a little sip of each of them just to like try and get it. But no, they
Nah,
just like brought out
fam.
like a little thing.
Yep.
6 shot glasses, different flavors, and I was like, bro, you're just asking me to take 6 shots and then drive home?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're asking.
Man, I'm excited because next year they're gonna restart like spirit and wine tasting at work for employees so that we can lie less. You know,
Oh,
they
nice.
stopped it during COVID, and they're like, and my boss is a saint for multiple reasons. The first one being, I made a joke about the fact that my apron just reeked of weed after work, and he's like, "Yeah, well, we don't piss test here, you know, just FYI." And I'm like, "All right,
It's so
that was cool of
funny.
you, thank you."
Of course they don't, because it's a union job. What are they gonna do? Step on the union's toes and be like, you guys can't smoke weed anymore? Because then you're just gonna collectivize further.
Everyone's gonna smoke weed on the clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was talking about how, yeah, I mean, they tell you to spit it out, but like you sign a little paper, and that little paper says that you acknowledge that if you get in an accident because you didn't listen to them when they said to spit the wine out, and you get in a wreck, it's not their fault. So I mean, do whatever. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not like they're handing you glass after glass after glass. It's like, but with the spirits, it does add up.
Oh, without
yeah.
a doubt.
But yeah,
Quickly,
that's.
one might
I feel
even
like
say.
oh, absolutely. Like the 6 shots of vodka on the flight, and then we just kind of had to like mill about for a little while because neither of us could drive. We were like, oh, it's okay. They had food there too.
Oh, there
Well.
you gotta. You can't send people into that situation and not give them a little something.
Well, actually, I've been to that distillery and I've been to Abita Springs, the brewery, before. Those 2 places were like awesome.
Mhm.
I would go again.
If we sold beer, I would definitely tell them that you worked at Abita as well.
Absolutely, you gotta just you tell people what you need to tell them.
It works.
I
I'm
do
just
love
saying.
I do love selling like the vodka though and like the spirits and stuff like that because when it comes to wine, someone will be like, "What's the difference between these 2 Cabernets?" And I'm like, oh, I got no idea. I don't know I don't even know what makes it a Cabernet besides maybe the type of grape.
See, that's when I go,
Um,
honestly, I haven't had this one yet, but I like this one a lot. Whichever
Yeah, and I
one is
feel like
on sale, I like a lot.
But it's kind of like insane though for them to be like, yeah, hey, liquor store employee, have you tried every single thing on the shelf? No, that would mean I would spend thousands of dollars out of my own pocket.
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't done that.
I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask, but
to ask, but like to assume people will be
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
Does this one taste good? And you'll be like, I don't know. I don't taste them all.
I haven't tried every drink. I have not done every alcohol.
But then with like the spirits and stuff, I can like actually like I'm more knowledgeable because I used to work at like the bar and.
Mhm.
At bars, people don't really ask you questions about wine; they just tell you which one they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say,
then, like,
sorry,
when
we
it
don't
comes to,
have
like,
that.
Precisely. But when it comes to like liquor, like there was a lot more options and people like needed to know a lot more. So like over time you just get more knowledgeable on it. So like I can actually like tell people the difference between even like different types of a certain thing, like different types of a certain whiskey or like different things that come out of different areas, how like if you're like, oh, do you have Buffalo Trace? Like, oh, we don't have Buffalo Trace, but we have Basil Hayden and it comes from the same distillery. It's slightly more expensive, but it's a higher tier and it's, made with a little more care than Buffalo Trace, but by the same people.
Mhm.
They're like,
Nice.
wow.
And
And then you get a
people love
$40
that.
bottle. Yeah, they love that. But then I'll go over to the wine section and people are like, is this one good? And it's like Arbor Mist Peach. And I'm like, probably not.
Probably.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know. For you, I think it'll be good.
Now, Noah, you also started around Christmas time. Did you get Christmas gifts from coworkers?
No. Yeah, no, we are a big enough store. I'm working at the second biggest one in Erie. And
I think I'm
as
working at the
such-
smallest one in Erie. How many employees? There are 4 employees.
Yeah, we have I think we have 15.
Yeah, there's 4.
Now I have not seen
Um,
all 15 in one place at one time. For fairness, I have not, but we have a good number of them.
Yeah, no, there's 4 where I work. 4 and then me just hanging out.
Just vibing.
Sometimes you
but,
gotta have someone that
like,
just hangs out.
They all got like each other like Christmas gifts, and they were all very nice. And most of them got me things as well, even though they didn't really know me.
That's
and that
so
was really
nice.
sweet. The only thing is, most of what they got was like liquor related things.
Yeah.
Like just because like you can get them at the store. You can get like mini bottles and stuff. So I have like 8-9 mini bottles, and then also one of the guys, he's like he was an engineer for a while, and then he retired, and he just kind of works there for fun. He's a bit of a wine dad, and I can go over a list of things I say that make him mad later. Very funny.
I'm very excited.
But
to
he
hear.
bought everyone a pint. He bought everyone a pint of Screwball.
Wow. I was gonna say,
Yeah, that
I
was
saw
really
you
cool.
had a pint of Screwball, but I didn't want to be like the guy
Yeah.
that's like, oh, and you have a pint of Screwball.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm excited.
That's one of the ones that I will talk up, but I've never had just because I see
It's
so many people buy it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, people love this. It flies off the shelves. And then I will add that I haven't had it yet, and I'm like, because it's so popular. So you
I don't
want to
even
get it
try
while
and
it's
sell
here.
it. Yeah, I don't even bother trying to sell it because like it's just we're out. And,
Yeah.
like we get like we got 4 cases on Thursday and they're gone. They were gone on by Friday by the time I left. All 4 cases had been completely sold of it.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So like it's like why I don't tell people to get it. They just get it.
I had a guy come in and he's
And
like,
people-
hey, I'm looking for a peanut butter whiskey as a prank. And I'm like, a prank? Yeah, here's the Screwball. This is what you're after. And I'm like, why would you do that?
It's a $30 prank.
It is. I even tried to sell him on just like having a pint of it instead of like the full 5th, but nah, he was
Yeah, you don't
committed.
like people really do be drinking the Screwball. It's $30 for like a 5th of it. Yeah, and people just buy it like left and right.
Mm-hmm.
It like man, what kind of people also would just be buying like very expensive things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's true.
And
The other day someone came in,
do
they're
it
like, "Do you
without even
have this
thinking.
type?" Oh yeah, no, and some people just do it naturally. They're like, "This is just what you do."
Mm-hmm.
I had this lady come in. She's like, "Do you have this kind of whiskey?" And then she showed me a bottle of like an ultra premium vintage type of Jack Daniels that was like online retailing for like $400. And I was like, "No,
Man, this is a Wendy's.
we don't." I was like, "This is the smallest liquor store in the county. No, we don't have an extremely rare and very expensive vintage of Jack Daniels. No, we don't have that." It's like a limited release from like 2018. Why would we have that?
I respect that she like went for it. Like she was like,
Yeah.
maybe maybe I'll try my local liquor store, support the business. They will definitely have the thing that I am looking for.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
definitely,
Why not?
like-
Can't hurt.
80% of interactions where people ask if we have something and we don't, I'm just like, yeah, just going up to the register and ask them if anywhere around here has it, and they can give you a list of all the stores in the county that have it. And then I always send them to where Noah works. That's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that
They're like, do you have this?
Yep.
I'm like, no, but where Noah works does.
I used to do that to the Yorktown store.
Yeah, that one
and
too, for sure.
Then my coworker was like, nah, man, send him somewhere else. Yorktown has enough business. I'm like, okay, yeah, you got me there. You got me there. My one manager used to come from there, though, and he's where I get all my real wine information because they had a wine specialist, someone who literally worked every day to deal with the wine snobs that came in during work hours for wine, because most of the wine snobs, fun fact, come in between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m.
That somehow
which
does
is-
not surprise me.
Yeah, right. On one
Um,
hand, it doesn't surprise me. On the other hand, it's totally wild to me that that's when the wine snobs come out.
The thing about the wine snobs is like the one guy who works at the store with me is not a wine snob, but he's a little bit of like a wine dad
Yeah.
type. You know, he's a little bit like into like the finer things, very much like the one who will judge people after they walk out for their purchases. Very funny, very cool guy. But he really hates the way I refer to like everything.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
For example, any of like the Woodbridge things I call Robbie Moe's.
Why would you do that?
Because it's because it's like Woodbridge by Robert Mondavi, and I'm like, yeah, that's a little Robbie Moe. I call Pinot Grigio Peony G.
Well, that's
You know, I'm starting to
I
think.
call
I'm
it
starting to think your
Pinocchio
coworker's
Gringo,
right.
So
So like sometimes you snag a little Peony G when you're stocking up some Pinot Grigio. That's what you call it.
I think your coworker might have been right.
No, that's fair. I think he is.
That's cursed, but also very, very funny.
I really do like being like, yeah, I'm just, snagging a little Peony G, and he just like looks at me, he's like, okay, and then leaves. Oh, also because I started working there and I don't have numbers, so I can't like I had numbers, but I don't have like the stuff to log into the system and do training. So basically every day I just go in there and stock and reorganize and like alphabetize everything for like 8 hours.
oh, so they decided to
And,
just have you be their stock guy, and that's it.
They're like, yeah, you're going to lift everything. So that's been the first day I was there. They were like, this first of all speaks to just how low the bar is for seasonal help. It's incredibly low. They're like, all right, well, since you don't have any experience and you can't, do anything yet, since it's just like your first day, just go like stock up, like go organize the box wine. And so like I went back there and I took all the monk's wine and I organized it by type. I got it all like stacked in individual like flavors, if you will, or like types of wine.
Yeah.
And I had like all of them separated, and I had them all like level against the back wall, no space in between the boxes. And it was like took me like 2 hours. And then like the general manager came back. He's like, I've never seen this room so clean before. I'm like,
bruh.
that says something. That says more about you, man. I just be cleaning it because I got nothing else to do. And then they had me like systemically go through and like organize and sort and clean every inch of the back room. Which has been, I think it's kind of fun. You know, I don't have to like, deal with people.
Yeah, there's a zen to that I super fuck with.
I would agree. We have
so I've been.
You guys call the spare bottle shelf your slush shelf, right?
Yeah, it's the slush for sure.
Okay, so yeah, we have a guy who is obsessive about tidying the slush shelf to the point where I think he had a stress-related stroke about it once. Which is not that is not funny. This is not me putting that in as like a punchline. That's like, yikes, dude.
No, it is like the slush shelf is really overwhelming, especially because there's not that much space, and if you have like single facing stuff out on the front, you'll put like 5 bottles out, and then you have to go find a place for 7.
Yeah,
you're like, what? It can be overwhelming, and yeah, no, I can see it, but like it definitely wouldn't ever cause me to have like that much stress over it, but I can understand how someone could let it kind of take over for them.
Mm-hmm. And especially like this time of year, like let's be real, it's the holidays.
What?
It's gonna be a mess. That's just how it is, and you got to learn to be okay with that. But you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mess. But
I don't know. It's I find a lot of elements of the job to be really fun and rewarding. There's nothing that I've disliked about it so far.
Yeah.
Outside of the fact that I will have people come in and ask me whether like A or B bottom shelf shit tier vodka is better, and I'm like,
oh yeah, they're like, hey man, should I get the Kamchatka or the Bankers Club? I'm like, please get anything else.
Yeah,
don't get either. Just it shouldn't cost you $8 for half a gallon of vodka. Like you get that's you can't possibly. I can't recommend the $8 or the $9 version when it's half a gallon of liquor. It's not gonna be good.
Yeah,
no.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna go home, mix it with lemonade, and pretend it's all right. Like, don't act like I'm gonna help you here. You can't be helped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised how much of that stuff actually sells, though.
Oh yeah,
I'm not.
And I think it sells the most. Well, no, I think it sells. The thing is, most of it that I see go out and that I sell is to older people.
Well, I think that
I would say 60, 70 up. Yeah, definitely. If you're on a limited income and like it'll last you a little while, and if you have like, and if it won't last you a little while, then you're still, budget the best you can. And like, yeah, I see most of it go out to older people. And like, no offense, but as you get older, your taste buds do get less and less like acute. So you really can't taste things the same. So like, if you're 70, it doesn't really matter if you're drinking Tito's or Kamchatka. You're not really drinking for the taste at that point. Because you're, the taste of it isn't really, helping you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You can't taste that strong. That's why old men apparently love black pepper. Like the older men get, the more like our taste buds like make us enjoy the taste of black pepper.
Oh no, I love black pepper.
I do too. And I've also found myself being more and more into it over time. Like when I was like a kid, I was like, it's fine. But now I'm like, ooh, give me a McChicken. It's got like a nice amount of black pepper to it, but I could add a little packet on top.
I feel that in my soul, Jackson, and I need you to understand how not okay with that I am.
Yeah, black pepper is like enjoying black pepper is apparently a natural part of men aging, which is insane. Like it's like a biological thing.
That's actually nutty.
Because apparently, like as your taste buds diminish, not in all people, but apparently as your taste buds age, one of the things that still tastes the same is black pepper. So if everything else tastes worse, black pepper ends up seeming like it tastes better.
That's wild.
Yeah, I not for women though, and I don't know why. And I like, it's strange, but apparently it's a phenomenon that happens in men.
Interesting.
Obviously, not just to speak to a gender binary, I suppose, because it is a biological thing. Assigned male at birth, I suppose. But it's a strange thing. Black pepper becomes a taste that, and that's why I don't know if you guys have ever worked in restaurants before, but literally, like you get like an old guy sitting at your table. He's like, can I have some packets of pepper? You're like, you already have a shaker. He's like, it's empty. I'm like, oh god, He's a monster.
He's a monster.
Be covering stuff with it. And it tastes good. They're right, and they should do it.
That's something
it's true, and they
I've
should
talked
say
about
it.
Actually, is like I'm just like, yeah, I really love black pepper, and she's like, could you do less though? And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess if you
Legally,
to.
I suppose.
I'm in the same boat where I'm like, yeah, this is like one of the greatest spices of all time. I'm like, this is like a top echelon spice, and Mari's like, what? I'm like, I don't know. I wish I could be like, no, it's not the best. But like sometimes there'll be a recipe that's like add ground white pepper, and I'll be like, white pepper is just like a weaker version of black pepper for cowards, and I add both.
Yeah.
And I feel like the weird thing about, okay, I'm going to go off on white pepper for a second. I think it tastes fine. I think there's no problems with white pepper. But most of the time when a recipe calls for it, it's like, that way you don't see specks of black pepper in the dish. I don't care.
No, who cares?
Like, I'm not pressed for it. I'm not like, oh God, these dumplings, you're going to be able to see the black pepper flecks in them. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. A lot of the time it's because it's a French cooking item and it's like, you wouldn't want to see the pepper. And I'm like, damn, would you not want to see the pepper?
And like, I don't mind. Like, yeah, there's a lot of because I have like the dumpling recipe book and I've been making a lot of stuff out of that. And a lot of the types of dumplings I'll go to make, it'll be like, yeah, use white pepper so you can't see it in the dumpling. I'm like, first of all, you're putting it inside of a wrapper. You're not, like, and like, I don't understand why that's like it's in like half the recipes. It's like white pepper for like a visual effect. I'm like, it really doesn't need to be.
Yeah,
like,
nobody cares.
I've never made dumplings for someone and they've been like, excuse me, I saw some black pepper in here. It's like there's giant chunks of like green onion and garlic and ginger in there, and they're like, yeah, but the flecks of pepper are really off-putting to me. I've never experienced someone saying that.
I mean, I think that if you did, that would be the kind of person you don't be friends with anymore.
Yeah, like I think if I had someone come over to my house and I made them like a dish, and they were like, I see pepper flakes.
Yeah,
I would be like, you can go home. Like, you're not welcome here.
Yeah, that would be a no from me.
You're kind of being a piece. Like, I'm not okay with that.
There's no reason to
Nor
be
should
that
you
guy, especially about that. Come on.
Yeah, and I think maybe if you're like a real purist with like you're like bechamel sauce and you're like, I saw a pepper flake in my pasta, my life is ruined. Like, sure, at like a fancy restaurant, but like if you're at a friend's house, don't be a dick.
No,
like I've eaten at plenty of friends' houses before where like they give me like some food and I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of the way this is seasoned, but I'm never like, this is the worst. I'm like, it's still good. Like, I'm still having a good time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still enjoying it, and I didn't have to cook it, so like this is fine. Like,
honestly, that's been one of my big selling phrases for stuff that I don't know about. Is when people ask me, I mean, is this good? I'm like, hey, I mean, I think it's pretty good. And remember, if people don't like it, they can shove it because you're the one bringing it to them. They get it for free. They sent you, like,
yeah.
So that's always been my like, hey, I don't know, but
I've
they're
had a
not
lot
allowed
of
to
that.
complain.
Yeah, I had a lot of that this last like week, like leading up to Christmas, because for a lot of people buy scotch as like a gift for their boss.
Oh yeah,
like it's kind of like a universe. They're like getting my boss a nice bottle of scotch because he likes scotch, and they're like, what kind should I get him? And I'm like, honestly, the thing about scotch is like, if your boss is a scotch person, they probably like one kind. And they're probably very particular about it, and they might be a little bit dickish if you don't get them the right kind. Because a lot of people are like, no, I only would drink like a blended nice, like a high shelf like blended scotch, like a Black Label Johnny Walker. I don't really want like a single malt. And you're like, okay, well that's a preference. And it kind of is hard when you're like talking about like a $70 bottle to be like, this is the best one, because it really like the Scotch people are really like anal about what they're drinking.
Yeah,
and like way more than they should be. It's their fault. But like it's hard to be like. And you'll be like, well, what kind do they like? And she's like, oh, well, he always has this like Johnny Walker red label in his office. I'm like, okay, well, he probably definitely likes that. But then if you get him it, he already has it. Like, he already has a whole bunch of it. So I'm like, well, you could get him the next tier up, which would be like the black label. Or if you want to get a little wild with it, give him something he maybe hasn't tried before. I always tell people get the monkey shoulder because it's the funniest bottle. And it's also really good. It's like the only one I've ever had before. But I'm like, yeah, this one's a nice change of pace, and he'll appreciate the sentiment.
For what it's worth, monkey shoulder, I think as someone who has had it, I think it's a pretty good one. So
I agree. I think it's fun. And it says monkey shoulder on it.
It does say monkey
which
shoulder.
Which is very funny.
And there's just like monkeys on the bottle. And you're like, but like in a cool way. It's not like silly, funny monkeys. It's like, well, these monkeys, they're nice.
These monkeys fuck.
That's a nice monkey. It's selling scotch to people is hard though, because you're like, honestly, if you're buying this for someone else, they probably already know exactly what they want and like, and if they didn't tell you that, that's kind of on them. Get them something nice that you think is good to give to someone, and pick the price range that you're comfortable with. Don't yeah. I remember when I used to be a bit of a liquor store hound back, but that was also, unfortunately, that was when I was in Texas, and liquor stores are a world different there.
Man, I had a guy come in and shit talk us to my face when he came in on Christmas Eve. you know? So firstly, you kind of got to roll with like what you have going there. But, you know, he didn't do that. He decided to come in Christmas Eve and say, "Wow, you have a lot of empty shelves." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's our busy time of year." Haha. And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, this would never happen in Texas." And I'm like, "Oh,
what the fuck is he talking about?
oh,
What do you mean?
he wouldn't stop talking about how in Texas they got these liquor stores, and he's like,
Oh,
the
Specs
size
or
of
something? Is he gonna talk about
Wegmans."
Specs?
And I'm like,
Yeah, he's talking about Specs.
yeah. And I'm just like,
I've been to plenty of Specs.
it's just,
They kind of suck.
dude, he just wouldn't shut up about how great it was and how big their variety was and how much better it was than us. And I'm just like, all right, but you're here and you're late.
Yeah, be nice.
It's 1 p.m. on Christmas Eve. You have 5 hours left to buy your liquor. I'm sorry that you're like, that we're out of like Bullet Rye. That's not on me.
Man, his life must be so hard. If you went to Specs in Texas on Christmas Eve, it's probably fucking closed, first of all. And I will admit the stores are really cool. I really do like going to a Specs because it literally is the size of a Walmart. It's just a giant warehouse full of like every kind of liquor you can imagine. But the problem is like it doesn't necessarily have a bigger variety.
It just has more of it. Yeah.
Everything's like 10 facing. Like you're just gonna see like an entire row of different kinds of like Jack Daniels and Jim Beam, and you're like, that's cool. But like there's literally 30 bottles in a row of the same exact thing. It kind of just means you have to walk around more.
Yeah.
But there are some, it's really cool to like go in, and there are a lot of things you can get in a really huge store like that you can't always get in other places. But yeah, I think if people are like, people who get really pressed and angry about liquor are weird to me. And the weirdest of all are the ones who will like go up to the counter, get their stuff rung up and be like, "What? It's $50." I'm like, you're telling me when you picked a bottle off the shelf that said $49.99 under it, when you walked up to the counter, that number surprised you again?
I had people
It's
do that all
very
day.
clearly labeled.
And
yeah, no,
it'll
it's
be
very
like,
clearly labeled.
He'll get like 2 items that are like $29.99 and $19.99. He's like, all right, that will be $40. And then I'm like, all right, you're looking at $57. Like, 57? What do you mean? And I'm like, well, tax.
Well,
And he's like,
30
"Oh,
plus
yeah,
20.
tax. That's right."
Yeah, people are.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, it's very funny to me that people act as if like they're shocked when it's the exact same price it says on the tag. If it's one of those things where like the tag says it's on sale and it doesn't ring up as on sale, I understand it.
No, totally.
If
Yeah.
you like say, if you're like, hey, it's supposed to be like $5 off or whatever, yeah, that makes complete sense. But half the time it'll be like they won't have any like leg to stand on. They'll just be kind of mad about it. Like, okay, well, don't buy it. I don't know. If you're gonna be mad that the huge thing of Tito's costs like $40, buy something different. I don't know. What do you want? Don't be so angry.
We were talking
And
about
the people coming out on Christmas Eve and being like, yeah, it's like, oh, it's Christmas Eve, blah, blah, blah. Just like people who came in on Christmas Eve and were like, oh, it's a shame you guys are having to work and open. I'm like, why are you here then?
Yeah.
Then like, if you think it sucks that we have to be here, then why did you come in here? Why are you showing them that it's a good idea to be here? Like, it doesn't really, and it's just a very empty compliment.
It's such a cognitive dissonance that I feel like happens all the time.
Like, oh, it sucks you got to work on Christmas Eve this late. I'm like, yeah.
Sure does.
Kind of does. Also kind of sucks that there's a huge line right now and you just added on to it. But like, isn't that a little bit weird?
Yeah. No, it absolutely is it's a cognitive dissonance. I couldn't possibly be the reason that you're here.
They're like, oh, they're already here, so I might as well go in. I'm not contributing. I'm just showing up.
Did
It's
you
a fun
guys
job,
have
though. I
people
enjoy
like
it.
knock the door down when you opened up?
No, actually.
Oh, we had 20 people in the minute the doors opened. It was crazy.
Yikes.
We don't really get a lot of action the minute we open, typically. But like, also we're right next to the Chinese food place.
Oh, okay.
So like Christmas Eve, there's a lot of people coming into the liquor store, walking next door, getting some Chinese food.
Yeah. Chinese food for Christmas is a pretty common thing.
I love
It's
that
a classic, yeah.
I want to do that now.
I mean, literally, like on my lunch break, Mari came to visit, and like we just went and sat in her car, and like one of my coworkers had brought pizza, which was super nice. So we had like a couple pieces of pizza, and then we went and got like some crab rangoon. And I was like,
"That's rad."
Yeah, this slaps.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Chinese food on Christmas is a classic.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do it till I got to college because lots of reasons, but yeah, absolutely. As soon as I stopped going home for the holidays, Chinese food on Christmas became such like a great idea.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. I feel like I don't usually do Chinese food on Christmas Day, but like it's definitely a Christmas Eve and sometimes Christmas night classic.
Yes, agreed.
Because like I come from a family where we usually eat like a Christmas dinner at like 1 p.m. Like we do have really early like holiday meals. So like Christmas, Thanksgiving, we do all the meals like pretty early in the day. So like typically at like 6, 7 p.m. everyone's kind of hungry, and maybe you don't want leftovers. Go get some fried rice and crab rangoon and have that, and then some extra ham and stuff. But it's nice to supplement it with some good old fashioned Chinese food from the down the street.
Agreed, 100%.
And New Year's too. They're always open New Year's Day. I feel like it's just kind of sad though, because like all the Chinese places are always open like Christmas and New Year's. But then they don't close on Chinese New Year, on Lunar New Year. It's kind of sad. Like, it's okay, guys. Take the weekend.
We had our time.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a lot of the Chinese restaurants, they're there for you on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. This is my message to all the Chinese restaurant owners. Just close down for Lunar New Year. Enjoy time with the family. Don't worry about, we got you. I can't carry the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Chinese restaurants on New Year's Eve. So like sometimes you got to be Samwise on Lunar New Year.
Yeah, dude.
I can go without the fried rice and crab rangoon for a little bit.
Not too long though.
I do feel like, unfortunately, though, it's one of those things where that's also a kind of a busier time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so it's like gotta make hay while the sun shines.
Like the same kind of energy of the people who do really appreciate and celebrate Christmas as like a big deal to them, rather than just, hey, it's a day I get to see my family, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah.
Who also work on Christmas because they have to,
Yeah.
Oh well.
I've been a Christmas Eve worker for a lot. Like I can't remember the last time I didn't work a Christmas Eve.
Right.
It just has always been something I've had to work on the eve. Not always the day. Every once in a while. But most places I've worked at have been like restaurants and stuff, and typically they're closed Christmas Day. And yeah, the one place though I did when I worked in Austin, it's closed. It's open 364 days. It's closed Christmas Day, and it's like a 24/7 like cafe. And I had to work overnight on Christmas Eve, and so it was like literally work, midnight. Everything gets shut down. We're like, see ya.
You just walk out the door.
Closed Christmas Day. Basically.
It's
No, I
amazing.
mean, we get cleaned up and stuff, but it was super dead. I mean, like, it was really busy for a while on Christmas Eve, and then at like 10 p.m., no one's going out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's got time to be out that late?
So it was kind of a short shift, because I think I went in at like 6 o'clock, and usually I'd stay till like 4, but it closed at midnight.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal. A pretty good one, in fact.
Yeah, that job kind of sucked. The job didn't suck, but the hours were just a bit, like, I would literally work like a lot of times 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. So I'd go in at 10 at night, and I would just work till 8 in the morning.
That's rough. I'm not gonna lie to you. That
So you
sucks
get
a
all the
lot.
overnight people, and then you start getting into the breakfast rush.
But then you get to leave.
And then people will be like, how you doing this morning? I'm like, morning. I've been here for 9 hours.
Honestly, you can get, if you very delicately play that card, though, you can get a lot of sympathy points from
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
you definitely get sympathy tips.
You could say,
The other
I
thing
mean,
about
not too bad. I've been here since 10, but it's pretty exciting. The end's in sight. They'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so terrible. And then they'll give you an extra $1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people
dude.
definitely, working overnight, you get a lot of sympathy tips. Sympathy tips and like people just drunk as fuck tips.
Yeah.
The best are when like the bartenders get out and they come out to at like 3:30 a.m. Usually they'll be like showing up and like they're just like out with like friends and stuff. Oh man, and they always like have a whole bunch of cash and they tip really well and they're drunk. That's always fun.
Hell yeah.
That was like honestly a huge source of my money, was just like drunk bartenders coming in. Yeah, there's a lot of really loose bars in Austin where like the servers are just smashed. And it's part of the charm, but I'm glad I never worked at one of those places where like as a bartender you were drunk.
Yeah,
I would
that's-
agree.
I
I
would've
would
had
keep up.
I don't think I would just have a miserable time.
Yeah, that does not seem like a fun time to me, to be honest.
Just imagine being behind
Yeah.
the bar and you're drunk as all hell, and then people keep demanding things of you. No.
Yeah, there is like honestly almost nothing worse in the world than being like drunk or high and then having something stressful going on. Like if you're like blasted and or like trashed and someone calls you and they're like, hey, something bad, serious just happened. You're like, oh, this is the worst feeling imaginable because I feel like I should be able to be there, but I like physically am unable in a way that I should be. And it's just, so stressful.
Doesn't feel good. Does not feel good.
And yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that every day for work. Oh my God.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I would break down. But yeah, some people loved it. The bars were also pretty chill. Like the clients weren't like super like shitty. So I feel like it probably wasn't that bad, but I feel like if for your job you get drunk 5 days a week, you might have a problem.
Either you have a problem or your job has a problem, and probably both.
Yeah, either you, definitely both. You just like it can't stay healthy.
No, not at all.
But anyway, that overnights was kind of fun. The best part was you'd be alone pretty much all night, like you and like one cook and maybe the manager, my manager Tim, if he was like around. But I feel like I've talked about Tim before. He was a crazy guy. He was a fun guy.
Yeah.
Have I talked about my manager Tim when I worked at Kirby Lane in Austin? Dan, have you heard about Tim?
I feel like I have, but I'm always down to rehear stories.
Tim was great because he was like the coolest guy. You know, he was every once in a while doing some drugs, and by every once in a while I mean most days, but you didn't hear it here. And you'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go walk to perimeter, and that's what that walk to perimeter was shorthand for go smoke weed out back. And then he would go walk to perimeter for a couple hours, and then
good.
But it was like the middle of the night. It was like dead, and it was just like me and this one like overnight cook, and we were just chilling. And some days the overnight cook wouldn't be there, and so I would have to cook and serve. Which was really like that was if you want like sympathy tips, if you're the only one in the building and like someone's like, I want chicken and waffles, and I'm like, all right, sounds good. I'm gonna go whip it up for you. And like they were sitting at the bar, they would just be amazed that you would just go back there and also cook.
Yeah, dude.
And then they would give you like $5-10 at least. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. But well, yeah, doing that was kind of fun. Anyway, Tim was a very distinctive voice, and he always kind of talked like this. And he had like a little bit of a tick where he would just kind of go like after like saying most things, like he would kind of like laugh at like his delivery of his like he was always joking around, always like making goofs, and he always had like a very minor laugh that he would do all the time. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go take a walk around the perimeter.
Amazing.
I loved him. Tim was sick as hell, and you know what happened? I don't know if I've told this specific part of the story, but it's like the happiest ending, which is that Tim ended up winning a shitload of money in a class action lawsuit.
Hell yeah, dude.
Like a shitload of money, and then bought a house for himself and his mom in Florida, and bought a boat and went and retired and lives in Florida now.
That is actually the best possible ending to that story.
It's the fun. He's like, yeah, I'm moving to St. Petersburg, Florida. And like suddenly one day, and we were like, you're leaving? He's like, yeah, I just won like a lot of money in a lawsuit, so I bought a house, paid it off, and for my mom and I, we're gonna retire.
I love that.
That's
so
rad.
much. It makes me so happy.
Yeah,
that
makes me really happy. I'm not gonna lie.
Good end. And he was like one of those things where like, yeah, go you, Tim. That's sick as hell.
Hell yeah, dude.
I hope he's just walking the perimeter on his boat now. Classic guy. And you'll love to see him succeed just one day out of the blue.
I love how out of the blue it is. It's just like, hey, one day I was living my normal life, and then boom, a massive influx of just raw cash came pouring right at me.
We can all dream.
Classic Tim.
Except for Tim. Tim lives it.
I feel like we definitely, I've got some good liquor store stories going. A lot of potential. I mean, I've only got a little bit of time left at the store before I'm done, so we'll see if I gain any other anecdotes.
I will do my best to gain enough anecdotes for both of us if you don't end up getting it.
And I mean, the nice thing is, even if I'm not working there anymore, I'll know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, realistically, there's only so many times I can tell the same. I lied to customers to get them to buy a wine that I know more about than the other story. But hey,
I disagree. Yeah. I think that there's an infinite amount of times that you can do that.
Oh, I will do it an infinite amount of times, but there's only so many times I can tell the story. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Tim. A little bit of a Tim moment there.
Oh, I try.
Maybe we should get Tim on the podcast. I don't have his contact info at all. That guy was cool.
I love how immediately that got shut down. We should do this. I cannot get in contact with him. Oh well.
I was like, I have no idea how to, but I feel like I could probably find some stuff about him through some old coworkers of mine.
Yeah, you could check up.
Just hit someone up out of the blue for the first time in 2 years and be like, bro, whatever happened to Tim anyway? Yeah,
you want to be on my podcast, Tim?
Does Tim know what a podcast is?
Probably. Tim was a world wizened man.
There you go.
He also was just he was he was a little bit of a wild guy, but he had a really good heart. He was the kind of guy who his policy when he was working overnights was if someone's in there and they're kind of tweaking, we don't just call the cops on them because it's not illegal to be high in a restaurant.
Hell yeah.
And as long as we kind of had a section for people who were just kind of bugging a little bit, and that way they don't have to that way if people are just trying to have a late night overnight meal and if they're on a break or something, they're not necessarily being bothered by people who are using, but it's not illegal to want pancakes if you're if you use heroin. It's not a crime
Oh yeah.
And so we did like everything we could to try and like help, because it's nice to have like a safe environment, and it's not, you know, a safe injection site or anything like that, but it's like, yeah, you know, if you want some pancakes and you got $10 or whatever, and you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But some of the managers and stuff were definitely of the opinion of, can't have that here.
Can't believe that
Ruins the
you work
image.
with a bunch of narcs. Actually, no, I
Well,
can.
you know, a lot of them were like, it ruins the image, so we're trying to cultivate. And we're like, it's 3 a.m, man.
Yeah, nobody cares about your image at 3
Like,
a.m.
It's 3 a.m. and you do this once a week when Tim wants a day off. Like, don't act like you like. No, we're not kicking somebody out. This guy comes in here he comes in here overnight more often than you do. It's not his fault that he has a drug problem. Be nice.
Just be cool.
Yeah.
Just don't suck.
And like, so Tim, guy didn't suck. Guy was cool, and now he lives in Florida and has a boat. So
The lesson here is that if you are cool and not a jackass, you get money from a class dressed in a luck suit. That's what I'm getting out of this.
yeah, that's the story of Tim.
Yeah. Do drugs, get a boat. That's what I'm hearing.
Do drugs, get a boat. I found it. I found my my autobiography.
If that was a lifestyle choice, if that was something I could choose,
yes,
to make,
exactly.
if that was like, if someone was like, hey man, do you want to work a job or do you want to do drugs and get a boat? I'd be like, oh shit.
Oh shit, dude, give me them drugs and boats.
Yeah, I mean, not that I don't want to work a job, but like,
When the option
those are the
is
two options.
job or drugs and boat, I mean, there's a clear
yeah,
answer.
I mean, you gotta make sure you're not
mhm.
doing too much drugs with the boat though, because otherwise you might, if you got a lot of drugs and a boat, you might kind of step on some toes you don't want to step on.
Yeah, you don't want to biff the boat.
I'm just saying, I don't want to get in trouble with like people who are actually, you know, moving product.
Well, they would also
I
biff
don't
the
know, if
boat,
I-
so.
They would probably biff the boat and you. Anyway, if you do drugs and buy a boat, don't get involved with the cartel. Thank you. This has been a PSA for me.
That's the lesson. That's really the lesson here.
I mean, we could probably like.
yeah, we can be done. On that.
That's not what I was gonna say.
That's
I was
the
gonna say
end
we
of
could
our.
probably run drugs.
Oh, we could probably run drugs. Yeah, I thought you were gonna be like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's our end of the, you know, like an old
What
GI
if-
Joe, like
Let's switch our kind of like our
MO
MO here. What if we buy a boat, right? What if we become like podcast on a boat?
boatcast.
Yeah, like what do you guys think?
I could boat
Boat TA.
Boat TA.
Ooh, Boatier is definitely the name of the
Yeah.
ship. Yeah.
You guys think we should become podcast on a boat?
Audience, if you donate to our Patreon,
Yeah. If anyone gives us like $30,000, we'll make it happen.
yeah, we'll get a boat. Fuck it.
Oh, we can like float out to like little islands in the middle of Lake Erie and just kind of like boat it up. Boat TA takes the Great Lakes on a tour unlike any you've ever seen.
Sounds like a blast to
Actually,
me.
how sick would that be if you did like a concert tour? Like if you're like a band
Oh,
and you did
Great Lakes.
and you did like a concert tour of the Great Lakes where you just like had like a boat and you just brought it to places and the people were like pulled up in their boats and like
I was thinking you
or
could
just like sat and cheers on the docks.
bring it up to the shoreline and just do all
Yeah.
of your concerts from the boat. That is actually pretty
Yeah,
rad.
like imagine like the Rolling Stones pulling up to like Presque Isle and like drop an anchor in the middle of the heart, like in the middle of the aisle, and having like people fill up on both sides, like on not only in like the bayfront but also on the inside of Presque Isle facing them,
Mhm.
and then they just like dropped anchor and had like a big ass show with some big ass monitors.
I'm here for it.
That'd be so sick. And then after that they were just like, all right, we're doing the same thing in Buffalo tomorrow.
I'm here for it. That is a great idea.
That'd be that's a cool idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea.
Rolling Stones, send me an email. I don't know if I think they might be a little too old for a boat tour though.
Judging by the number of old people I see on boats, I don't think so. I think you're probably fine.
That's true. Yeah, they don't have to like drive the boat. You know, we'd probably have like the equivalent of boaties, I suppose, doing that.
Cabin boys.
Yeah, any large band, hit us up. We'll make a big boat tour happen.
We will not do that.